After a really fun season last year, the Dolphins made the playoffs, but unfortunately they would fall to their two biggest weaknesses, the cold and teams with winning records. Can they overcome this in 2024? Let's go ahead and discuss. And what's crack-a-lack? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So, and welcome back to the Deep Dive series where we take a look at each and every NFL team and project how they're going to do in 2024. And today, we got my Dolphins. Fins up, baby, fins up. That's right, Zach Thomas back there, here for the support. But before we look to their future, let's reflect on their past. The Dolphins opened the year with a close game against the Chargers where Tua scored on a 4-yard pass to take the lead with less than 2 minutes left. They would then travel to Foxborough for Sunday Night Football and beat the New England Patriots with a great defensive performance. And then in week 3, the Dolphins would put up 70 points on the Denver Broncos. Tua had 4 touchdowns. Devon Achane had over 200 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. It was the type of performance that would put the league on notice. At least you would think that would be the case, but no one told the Bills that as they beat the Dolphins 48-20 the following week. The Dolphins would then pick up easy wins against the Giants and the Panthers before returning to Sunday Night Football to square off with the Eagles. They would fall short, but played a relatively close game. Miami would complete the sweep of the New England Patriots in Week 8, but then they traveled to Germany to take on the Chiefs. The Dolphins found themselves down 21-0 at halftime, but they would battle back. Unfortunately, they'd ultimately end up falling short 21-14. Miami was 6-3 coming out of their bye week, and then they went on a 3-game winning streak that included a tough win against the Antonio Pierce-led Raiders. You had the Hail Mary on Black Friday against the Jets, and a dominant performance against the Commanders. However, they would lose in Miami to the Titans and a gutty performance by Will Levis on Monday Night Football. By the way, screw night games. I think the Dolphins were 1-3 at this point in primetime games. Regardless, after that tough loss, the Dolphins would take their anger out on the Jets in a 30-0 victory. The Dolphins would beat their first opponent with a winning record in the Dallas Cowboys with the Jason Sanders game-winning field goal as time expired. But unfortunately, the Dolphins would have their worst outing of the season the next week against the Baltimore Ravens, losing 56-19, and they would also lose Bradley Chubb for the remainder of the season to an ACL injury. Dolphins would meet the Bills in Week 18 to decide the division winner. Miami was missing Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert, but they fought valiantly. They were actually leading at halftime, but unfortunately couldn't do much in the second half. They would lose 21-14, and along with it, the division crown and an opportunity to be the 3 seed. This would set up a rematch between the Dolphins and the Chiefs in the wildcard round. However, it would take place in Kansas City. It was -4 degrees Fahrenheit with gusts up to 25 miles per hour. Yep, safe to say the Dolphins barely showed any life and they lost 26-7. The Dolphins offense was a juggernaut for much of the season as they ranked 3rd in passing efficiency, 7th in rushing efficiency, and 2nd in points scored. The Dolphins defense was solid enough as Miami's point differential was 105, which was good for 5th in the NFL. It's also important to note that the Dolphins had the 4th easiest schedule, and they were 1-6 against teams with winning records. That's also included in the playoffs. Real quick, I gotta give a shout out to today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. I absolutely love Underdog Fantasy because I love football, and now that the football season is far and away, it doesn't mean my betting season has to be because they do all kinds of sports, whether it's baseball, basketball, esports even. They got you covered, whether that's weekly best ball or my favorite, higher lower on player props. So if you sign up at Underdog Fantasy using promo code BROSHMO, then they will give you a first time deposit up to $250. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. So if you're going to go and bet with Underdog Fantasy, use promo code BROSHMO, take advantage of this offer, but please bet responsibly and bet within your means. When it comes to free agency, the Dolphins, they lost a lot. I mean, they lost so much, I have to put it up on screen. As Christian Wilkins was by far the biggest hit, I imagine the Dolphins wanted to keep him, but financially, they just couldn't afford him as he would take $110 million from the Raiders. Good luck, Raiders. Good luck, Wilkins. And Robert Hunt was probably our next biggest hit, as he ends up getting paid $100 million. We just couldn't simply afford these players, unfortunately, which is a shame. It's like, wow, we actually hit on these draft picks and we're not able to retain them. It's kind of a gut punch. We would lose also guys like Xavier Howard, who's still a free agent, Jerome Baker, who's actually with the Seahawks. Those don't hurt nearly as much. I would say Jerome Baker, well, solid player. Still, I would say he was relatively replaceable. Like, they bring in Jordan Brooks and Anthony Walker, and I feel like that's going to be fine. I'm already getting ahead of myself. We're not even talking about additions yet. We would lose Andrew Van Ginkel. It kind of sucked, man. That dude had a very, very good year for us last season. He's over with the Vikings now. And then Brandon Jones, who honestly probably had his best season last year. Never been a big Brandon Jones believer, but I think last season he actually was relatively solid, but now he's over in Denver. We also lost guys like Ogba and Roquan Davis, who, man, we lost a lot of interior talent. Not great. Deshaun Elliott was actually kind of a gut punch too, because he played really good for us last season, and we could have got him back at a relatively inexpensive cost. But let's talk about some of the guys we added in free agency. So in terms of what we added this offseason, I thought we did a relatively good job given our cap situation and what we added to this squad. Not to say that I agreed with everything. Like, for instance, I wasn't a big fan of the Jordan Poyer pickup. We ended up giving a 33-year-old safety 1 year, $2 million, when we could have brought back Deshaun Elliott for just an extra $1 million. He ends up signing with the Steelers, 2 years, $6 million. And he's 27 years old. Both guys are capable of being thumpers in the box. One is much more athletic at this juncture in their career. I don't know why we just didn't go with the younger guy. Is what it is. He's going to be a good locker room presence to have. So I'm okay with it. Again, it's not exactly, it wasn't, in my opinion, their worst sign-in this offseason. At the end of the day, I think he's going to play well for us. He's going to give us production on that 1 year deal. We did bring in Shaquille Barrett. Barrett did end up retiring last week, which, hey man, he entered the league as, I believe, a UDFA, ends up having a hell of a career, a guy that over the last couple of seasons dealt with some personal tragedy in his life. And, you deserve to walk off into the sunset. Rest easy, my king. You had a hell of a career. We also add Jonnu Smith at tight end, 2 years, $10 million. Another playmaker. He brings speed. He brings force missed tackle ability. Just another playmaker for the defense to have to worry about, for DCs to have to pull their hair about. Pull their hair out about. There we go. We also, again, we had to restock the linebacker room. Jerome Baker, we got off his contract. We bring in Jordan Brooks, who really is just kind of a thumper, but has gotten better in coverage over the past few seasons. We did also add Anthony Walker, but Walker's been a bit injury prone the last couple of seasons. But when on the field, he's been stellar. So while we did lose Jerome Baker, I felt like we got a lot deeper at the linebacker position. And I like that. I like that quite a bit. We also brought in, this is the one I probably disagreed the most with, and I know a lot of people actually liked this signing of Aaron Brewer. I get it. He's a phenomenal run defender, or run blocker, excuse me. He's going to be really good in our wide zone blocking scheme, but he has been not great as a pass protector. And for goodness sake, we need to protect Tua, because we are coming to that decision. Are we going to re-sign Tua? Is he going to be worth the money? We'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the actual roster. But I don't think Brewer makes Tua any safer behind that offensive line. I don't. They do mention Connor Williams, who does have guard experience. I hope we do eventually bring him back. He's still a free agent out there as he recovers from his ACL injury. And I mean, to be frank, like, we do need guard help, so bringing back Connor Williams would be actually pretty darn nice. It really, really would. This may have been my favorite signing of the offseason. Kendall Fuller. I know a lot of people will be like, well, he allowed like 6-7 touchdowns last season, but that Commanders secondary was dog water. Jack Del Rio was just uninspired, predictable, and got fired after Thanksgiving. The defense wasn't good, and he was one of the few bright spots in that secondary. Yeah, I love the addition. I think he's going to fit well in, which I think we're probably going to be running a lot of quarters anyway. I don't think it's going to be too far removed from what we were doing under Vic Fangio. So, like, I love the Fuller addition. I truly do. I thought it was the best get of the offseason, and I would say I'm just shocked his market wasn't bigger. Truly am. Talked a little bit about Walker already. We did add some defensive interior depth because really we have Zach Sealer, and that's about it. So we add a bunch of guys. Like, we added Benito Jones, who's going to be a good space eater. Tyler Tart, who is kind of cut from the same cloth, but might bring a little bit more pass rush from kind of that like nose tackle, A-gap type of role. We also brought in who else? Neville Gallimore. Again, just a bunch of guys who are going to come in and be a part of this deep rotation. But at the end of the day, they are kind of just guys, and no one that's like, you're not going to replace Christian Wilkins, unfortunately. You're just not. That's never going to be the case. We also add Sierra Neal, who's going to be a really good special teamer for us. He really, really is. Jonathan Harris, another addition to that interior, along with Deshaun Hand. But let's go ahead. Let's talk about what the Dolphins did in the NFL draft. So with the 21st overall pick, the Dolphins went and got Chop Robinson. I kind of assumed they'd probably go edge rusher with this pick. I assumed we would have saw defenders fall down the board, which was the case. We didn't have the first defensive player taken till pick 15. And unfortunately, the top 3 edge rushers did end up going, and we ended up snagging Chop Robinson, who needs a little bit more time to develop and add some true sand in the pants, some good lower body strength before he can be like a 3-down type of player. So he's gonna be immediately now catapulted into that rotation with Barrett retiring. He's probably gonna be a starter from the get-go as Bradley Chubb recovers from the ACL injury. So it'll be interesting. I think the upside with Chop Robinson is really, really high. Like, there was a lot I liked about him. I think he was my edge 2 or 3 coming into the season. Ended up finishing like edge 4 for me. So it was a fine pick. It wasn't like, blow your pants out type of pick, but it was a fine pick. It was a solid pick. In round 2, we ended up going with Patrick Paul, developmental tackle, solid. I mean, right now, Taron Armstead, the dude just can't stay healthy. It's a guarantee every year he's going to miss some games. Kendall Lamb's actually done a pretty solid job filling in when called upon. Like, I was pretty happy to bring him back. But Patrick Paul definitely is the future. You want to be looking for that upgrade, and the dude's got the length. He's got the movement skills. I liked it there at pick 55. And then in round 4, day 3, our first pick, we actually trade up. We send a 3rd round pick next year to move up to get Jalen Wright. And I liked Jalen Wright. He was, I think, my running back 3 in this class. And it's good value, but what are we doing? We gave a 3rd round pick next year? Do we desperately need that many fast running backs in the backfield? Has Mike McDaniels not proven, like, going back to his time with the Niners, that, hey, we could take these journeyman guys, we could take guys that are like UDFAs, day 3 players, and make them very productive in our system? Do we really need to give away future draft capital, a future day 2 pick to get more speed in the backfield? Excuse me? I didn't love it. Not to say he's not going to be a really good player for our scheme, because he is. He totally is. Might not be this year, but somewhere down the line, him and Achane are going to be freaking nightmares. But I just don't love it right now at this juncture. Like, we had more glaring holes, more pressing needs, and I don't think we should be giving away future draft capital like that. I just don't. Round 5, I liked this pickup quite a bit. We go back to the edge rusher position, and we take Muhammad Kamara, who is just a big motor, gritty type of player. Doesn't have the length, the desirable length, but in terms of just like, hey, pin his ears back and just go and get after it, I think he could be a really productive DPR, designated pass rush only option in our system for our team. So I really liked the Kamara pick quite a bit later on in the draft. In round 6, we made a couple of interesting moves. So we take Malik Washington. Great value, just great value. He is going to be a very effective slot player for us, even if he doesn't end up starting right out the gate. There's going to be a role for him down the line, and he was definitely one of the. A lot of people had him as a hot riser during the draft process. I think I had him somewhere at the back end of the 3rd round, so to get him in the 6th was pretty darn solid. He, again, is someone who could be very dangerous in our system. Ran well. Yeah, he's undersized, but again, ran well, ran fast. Force missed tackle machine as well. And then we grab Patrick McMorris, safety out of Cal. I feel like he's a special teamer at best. Maybe he could change my opinion on that, but it's in the 6th, 7th round. Those picks, you're just kind of looking to fill your special teams guys that can maybe stick to the roster because of what they could do in the 3rd phase of the game. Round 7, Taj Washington. We just snagged a slot player in Malik Washington. What the hell are we doing? Like, why double dip? Like, this was good value. Don't get me wrong. This is good value for Taj Washington. But kind of feels like we were just double dipping. And like, when you're doing that, you're typically like, well, let's double dip and hope one of those guys hit. Just didn't feel like we had to do that. Like, good player, good value. Strange pick, in my opinion. But I think he's starting the year on the pub as well, or at least started in training camp on the pub. But that ends up being our draft class. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about this coaching staff. Mike McDaniel is coming into year 3 as the Dolphins head coach. And when we were doing our coaching search, he was my top candidate. This was the guy I wanted. Mike McDaniel was formerly the OC of the San Francisco 49ers, along with being the run game coordinator. And I was like, I want someone who could transform this offense and played it to his strengths. He was that guy. He has been phenomenal for us in terms of what he brings to the table schematically. It's your wide zone blocking scheme. It's what the league has been starting to trend towards when it comes to these Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan blocking schemes. While, to be fair, they've kind of adapted and evolved over the last year or two as Kyle Shanahan starting to lean more into power concepts and like inside zone. I don't know if McDaniel will kind of follow the same route, as the wide zone's been working for us. We've led the league in motion. He gets very creative with where he places guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the field, getting them in motion, getting them free releases, allowing them to use their speed to our advantage. He's come out in fun formations like pistol. He's just done a wonderful job as the play caller here, and I just absolutely love it. That's why his grades are so high for me, as you see, an A+ for run offense, an A for passing offense. Frank Smith, he's been here with McDaniel since the beginning. He was formerly the run game coordinator of the Chargers, and prior to that, he was a O-line coach for the Chargers, as well as a tight ends coach for teams like the Bears and the Raiders. But this is Mike McDaniel doing the play calling. But we got to talk about Frank Smith. Now let's talk about the defense, because this is going to be very intriguing. I don't think we're going to see too much in terms of a difference in scheme under Anthony Weaver. If you're unfamiliar with Anthony Weaver, played 7 years in the NFL on the defensive line. He's formerly the Ravens assistant head coach and defensive line coordinator. He was also a D-lines coach for teams like the Texans, the Browns, the Bills, the Jets. So schematically, you think, okay, he's just going to kind of bring over Mike McDonald's scheme, which, okay, it's going to be similar to Vic Fangio in some regard as, okay, we're going to be playing a lot of quarters. Vic Fangio loves him some corners, so we're not going to see too much of a difference in terms of the actual coverage scheme. We're not going to see too much of a difference in terms of blitz rate. What we probably will see a difference in is, at least with Mike McDonald, he's very strategic. He's surgical when he calls his blitzes. It's not like he didn't blitz at all. Like on third down, he was 6th in blitz rate. He would come out, call cover 0, and he would send the house. He would. That's what he would do. But I don't know what we're going to see, because this is Anthony Weaver's first go at being a DC, and there are some strong defensive personalities in terms of the rest of the coaching staff. So while I'm pretty confident we're going to be quarters heavy in terms of like our philosophy and what we'll do in like certain situations, that's still kind of up in the air for me. But I guess let's just go ahead and talk about the coaching staff. I guess I should, since we've been talking about the defense, let's start with the defensive side, as Joe Barry's here. He's a guy that is in the building. He's currently the linebackers coach and run game coordinator. You might famously know him as the former defensive coordinator of the Packers. He was so loved in that role too, so loved. But you got him in building. You also have like Ryan Slowick, who was a defensive backs coach and a passing game specialist. He was here with Vic Fangio, so I imagine he's going to be pretty like-minded in some of the things that he would want to do. So, especially when it comes to the coverage, again, passing game specialist. If you look at Slowick, you're like, oh, I know that name. Okay, yeah, his brother is the offensive coordinator for the Texans. We also have Deshaun Shed as the assistant defensive backs coach there, so he's going to be helping out Slowick. So it's going to be very fascinating. It's going to be very fascinating to see what happens from a defensive perspective. Offensively, Wes Welker, he's still here. Love to see it. He is the wide receivers coach and the passing game specialist. I imagine he's also going to help out a bit with the special teams. Eric Studsville, still one of the better running back coaches in the NFL. He's also the associate head coach. He's been with the Dolphins for quite some time. Actually, when we were doing our coaching search, he was one of the names that was brought up as a potential option to be the head coach. We also have Darrell Bevell, who has been here for, I think he's been here since, I can't remember if he was here before Mike McDaniel. I know at the very least he was here when Mike McDaniel was hired. Okay, yeah, he came in when Mike McDaniel was hired. So a guy that's been an OC. I believe he was a head coach at some point. I can't recall, but again, lost in time. But been around the league and he has seen some success. He's the quarterbacks coach and the passing game coordinator. But without further ado, let's talk about this offense. This offense was a juggernaut last season. I have used that word juggernaut like 20 times in this video, but it doesn't make it any less true. They truly were one of the most unstoppable forces offensively last season, and that starts with the quarterback. Per usual, you'll see my grades for each position group, and some people are going to look at that grade for Tua as, oh, a B, but again, it's the whole position group. But also, a B grade for me is like a top 10 to top 12 quarterback in the league. And that's what I feel like we have with Tua. He's a top 10 to top 12. I don't think he's among the elite in the NFL. I just don't. And now the Dolphins are gonna have to make the decision. Are they gonna bring out the money bags and give Tua the money he's asking for? Because it sounds like Tua's gonna want to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. And that will really it'll hold us down to what we can do from a just adding talent standpoint offensively, because I do think he isn't someone that just can create by himself. He does need playmakers around him. He's more of that like that point guard. He will dish it out, do so accurately. Last year, 76.1% adjusted completion percentage. That just takes out drops, takes out spikes, throwaways. So you get like the truest sense of how accurate they were on a pass-to-pass basis, and he was very accurate. He does really good at that role. I know people are going to be like, oh man, no, he's got a weak arm. Oh, yeah, he doesn't have like the strongest arm in the league, but I think it's fine. I think it's an NFL arm. I think it probably an average NFL arm, but he gets the job done. He is very good at the timing of his passes, putting it where his playmakers can make a play after the catch. But golly, man, the question is, do we pay Tua? And I honestly don't even think it's a question anymore. I think we kind of have to. Because what happens if we don't? What happens after? Like, there isn't a backup plan at quarterback. There's just not. You think Mike White or Skylar Thompson's going to come in and do some damage? No. And we're going to be, unfortunately, too good to be in position to take a quarterback highly. And looking at next year's class, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think there's a better prospect right now than what Tua was coming out. I don't think you're going to replace that. So we're stuck having to pay Tua. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. I'm just scared at how bad that will financially cap us. Like I was saying it all last year. We are basically the Cowboys of the AFC. And I remember saying when the Cowboys had to make a decision, are they going to pay Dak or not? And I was kind of firmly like, no, just go try to find a quarterback, whether you have to draft one or even if you have to trade up for it, get on a rookie deal, become cheaper, take a shot at quarterback. And now the Dolphins are at that juncture where they have to decide, are they going to pay Dak? Are they going to pay Tua? And look at what it's done for the Cowboys. Let's talk about all the success in the postseason the Cowboys have had. Not much? Not much at all. So I don't know, man. It's a fascinating discussion, but unfortunately, I think we are in a position where, I say unfortunately, only because it's not bad that if we sign Tua, it's not. It's just, I feel like we have to. We just have to. Like, there's no other option. That's the unfortunate part about it. And the Dolphins aren't really going to have any, honestly, negotiating power here. They're just going to have to bite the bullet on it. And hey, I think with Tua, we're still going to be a really good offense. But if you pay him, are we still going to be able to surround him with that talent? Because keep in mind, man, that offensive line, for me, it ain't it right now, brother. It ain't it. But let's talk about his playmakers. I think he's got some of the best playmakers in the NFL. Tyreek Hill, still one of the best receivers in the NFL. You can make an argument that Justin Jefferson is that guy or Jamar Chase is that guy, but you gotta talk about Tyreek. You still gotta list him among those guys. You still gotta sit down and actually have a discussion whether is he above or is he below? And even if he's a below, he's like 1 or 2 spots below those guys. He's hella good. Coming off a year, if we include the playoffs, where he had over 1,800 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns, he's still a nightmare, man. He truly is. I lined him up here in the slot in that flex position. Like the Dolphins, out of all their receivers, he was the one that they got the most creative with. They moved around the most. So I'm just going to go ahead and list him in that slot role, though. I mean, last year he was on the outside 60% of the time. So I do think when it comes to like 2 wide receiver sets, you got Waddle, you got Tyreek, and then when you have guys like when Berrios comes in, he's probably going to function as the slot. But if it's Odell, then you're probably going to have Tyreek in the slot. Regardless, he's our best playmaker. Jalen Waddle, people forget about how good Jalen Waddle is just because the numbers weren't as high as his as the year before. Going back and looking at 2022's numbers, he had about 300 more yards. He had 4 more touchdowns, only 4 touchdowns this year, 8 last year. But he was still very, very productive. You look at his yards per route ran, they were actually higher this year, so the opportunity was more. It just didn't work out. It just didn't work out to how we expected it, how we did. Like, he just ended up not having that jump from a production standpoint, but he was still hella good. Keep in mind, he was also someone that felt like got hurt every game. He was leaving the game and then returning like a couple of plays or drives later. Like, he dealt with some injuries last season. Waddle's still hella good, one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL. Now they add Odell Beckham Jr. to that fold, and it's like, hell yeah. Hell freaking yeah. We got some speed. We got some weapons. We're just going to stay scary when it comes to this offense. We're just going to stay scary when it comes to our playmakers. I like it. I love it. And I can't wait to see some more of it this season. When it comes to tight end, man, I thought we got better at tight end. Adding Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith's been pretty darn solid in the NFL. If you look at last season, 14 forced missed tackles on 50 receptions. That's a hella good number. I know his years in New England weren't that productive, but I feel like that's more on okay, Tom Brady's not there anymore. The offense struggled. Mac Jones wasn't it. I feel like that it was just more on the situation rather than his actual talent. Because you go back to his years in Tennessee, his last 2 years, he hovered around just under that 500 receiving yards. He had 14 forced missed tackles in 2019. Dude was hella good, man. Hella good. So I'm very excited about what he adds to this offense. When it comes to the backfield, I'm going to give the nod to Raheem Mostert as the leading, at least snap getter. If you look at it, I think we're probably going to have kind of a 3-headed beast at running back. If you look at snap totals last year, and particularly at the running back position, you had Mostert, who had 582 snaps. You had Achane, who had 323. Keep in mind, he was hurt during the middle of the year. I can't remember. Was that a hamstring injury for Achane? Knee injury. So he was hurt in the middle of the year after having that big breakout performance against the Broncos, where, again, just went off. The next running back up there was Jeff Wilson with 161 snaps. I feel like we're going to see a 3-headed beast, but Mostert, he's going to be the guy you're going to trust in the red zone. I think he's going to be the lead snap getter, not to take away from Achane. Maybe I think he does see that bump in snaps, and it's going to be really, really close, but I'm going to lean on Mostert being the lead snap getter. Mostert ended up going for over 1,000 yards last season, 18 touchdowns, absolutely insane. Achane was averaging 7.5 yards per carry almost 5 yards after contact. Utterly ludicrous. 34 missed tackles, and that was only on 108 attempts. Dude was phenomenal, man. I hope we just keep him. I hope he can stay healthy and we just keep him in the game plan, because the dude was great. Even as a pass catcher, 214 yards. Like, this offense is scary. Let's actually talk about some of the other weapons on the offense, more of the depth. Let's quickly go over your Jalen Wright, who my biggest question with him, like, we know he's fast, and he's actually got pretty good contact balance. My question was the vision, because that Tennessee offense really made for some gaping running lanes. So when things get tighter in the NFL, is that vision going to be solid? We've seen Rachaad White kind of struggle with that the last couple of years. Granted, Rachaad White, I talked about it in Monday's video where I talked about the Buccaneers, where the interior of that offensive line has really given them no chance. But at the same time, vision was something that, you know, he struggled with coming out in the NFL. So, like, right, that's probably going to be something that he's going to have to get better at. I think it's kind of a toss-up for if we keep a fourth running back. Is it Jeff Wilson? Is it Salvador Ahmed? Chris Brooks was someone I really liked coming out of BYU in 2023. So, like, I feel like you probably lean on Wilson. He's got the most tenure with Mike McDaniel. That's dating back to his day with the his days with the 49ers. So I imagine Wilson's probably that guy. You got Alec Ingold, who's been a pretty darn solid fullback for us. He even banged in. He didn't bang in a touchdown last year. He only had 2 attempts last year. I was looking at his attempts and thought they were touchdowns. I was like, man, he even had 2 touchdowns last year. Let's go. But dude, Tyreek Hill came out and said, hey, MVP, Alec Ingold. When it comes to our receiving depth, Braxton Berrios has been a very solid slot receiver for us. I imagine he's going to remain in that role until Malik Washington proves that he can usurp him. So that may happen sooner rather than later. Just going to be on the lookout. But Berrios was a very, very solid receiving option for the Dolphins last season. You also have River Craycroft, who another good receiver in his own regard that brings special teams ability. He's going to stick to the roster. If they're going to hold on to another spot, I imagine that's going to be Malik Washington. Eric Ezukama was kind of a bigger receiver who was a really good after the catch threat at Texas Tech, I believe. But I wasn't like wowed with him. I think I had him in like back into the 3rd round when he was coming out. He ends up going to the 4th. I didn't love the pick, but he hasn't really done much since being here in Miami. Some of the other guys, Anthony Schwartz, he's just kind of a speedster, more athlete than football player. If anything, Jaquan Burton out of, I think it's Florida Atlantic. He's kind of that speedster that probably will challenge for that role. But I mean, we're talking about guys that aren't going to make the team. Taj Washington is on the pup, probably ends up being on the practice squad. I honestly do think Malik Washington ends up making the squad though. Durham Smythe was our starting tight end last season, and he was fine. Didn't have a touchdown last year. I believe he had a touchdown called back because of a penalty. I can't remember, but he's fine. Smith's a good upgrade. I like Smythe as a backup. They also bring in Jody Fortson, who had some moments with Kansas City, whether it was in the preseason or during the year. So, like, watch out. Don't sleep on him. Tanner Connor is a former wide receiver turned tight end coming out of, I think it was Idaho State. But probably a long shot to make the squad. Jordan Hill, couldn't tell you really much about him at all. So, not going to just sit here and speak out of ignorance on a player that I'm not familiar with. Looking at the offensive line, man. Armstead, hella good when healthy, but you know this guy's going to miss like 3 games every year. That's just the facts. And that was the case. Last season, Armstead ended up missing 6 games. But again, hella good when he was in there. Over 11 games, only allowed 7 pressures and 1 sack. Really good. Austin Jackson kind of had a breakout year last season. He was pretty darn solid for us. My fear with that is he broke out in the right year, and then we went out and paid him. Granted, we didn't pay him a ton, but still, I'm a little hesitant to say that. Okay, did he prove he is a quality starter in the NFL, or will he revert to what we saw the previous 3 or 4 seasons? Going to the interior, Isaiah Wynn, he was beat up. He was injured last season. He had a quad injury, but he was actually pretty darn solid when in the lineup. He's probably going to be the guy that's going to be our left guard. But again, given how hurt our offensive line was, I probably expect to see like Lester Cotton, which that's not good. Hopefully it's Jack Driscoll. I liked Driscoll coming out of Auburn. He had some ups and downs with I almost said Phillies, with the Eagles. But a guy that's got guard and tackle versatility, I like that. At that left guard spot, I think it's probably Robert Jones' job to win. He played quite a bit last season for us. Someone we've been developing out of, I think it was Middle Tennessee State. I liked him as a developmental prospect when he came out in 2021. I had a draftable grade on him. Let's just see if he could take those next steps, because he's still probably going to be our, like, if he ends up a starter, our 5th best player on the offensive line. And then Aaron Brewer, I kind of like said what I said when we talked about him as an addition. I get why people like it. Hopefully you can get why I don't love it. Undersized center, not great in pass protection. God bless Tua. Please stay healthy. Looking at the depth, I mean, dude, our best depth player is probably going to be Jack Driscoll. Oh, that's not true. Kendall Lamb's pretty good. He stepped in and was very quality for us. He's actually shown to be a very solid pass protector. And you know what? Like, I hope he's the guy that steps in. I really do. He stepped in at left tackle for us last year, was solid, filling in for Armstead. Patrick Paul, I don't expect to see it all next season, as they just kind of as they develop him, but he will be the heir apparent to Armstead. You go to the interior, I really don't want to see guys like Liam Eichenberg, Driscoll, or not Driscoll, but Lester Cotton start. Those guys weren't good last season. People try to sell me on Liam Eichenberg. I don't get it. Not good. 24 pressures allowed, playing both center and guard last season. He should be nothing more than a depth player. Don't try to tell me he was good down the stretch. Some of his worst games came at the end of the year against Buffalo and against Kansas City in the wild card. I don't want to hear it. I just don't. And then Lester Cotton just wasn't that good for us. He is a depth player. Nothing more. So Driscoll, I'm actually kind of excited about. Hopefully we don't have to see Driscoll, but if injury does happen, or maybe if Robert Jones isn't taking that jump like we're hoping for, I kind of don't mind Driscoll stepping in. I think this is the right type of scheme for him. Ryan Hayes, I didn't like coming out of Michigan. I don't know. I just don't think I like Michigan tackles. I like Michigan interior players, but not Michigan tackles. I don't know, man. Some people will be like, well, you love Michael Owenu. He was coming out as a guard. What can I say? I love Michigan interior players. Matthew Jones, very okay player coming out of Ohio State. Could make the roster just because Lester Cotton's. Just because Lester Cotton's just not great. We also have Chaz Hines, who we got as a UDFA out of LSU. We do have Byron Matos from the International Player Pathway Program. I think he was coming out of the Dominican Republic. So I think since he's from the International Player Pathway Program, he can stay on the roster, the active roster, and not count against our actual, like, not count against the roster 53. So that's kind of cool. But a guy with traits who I think could probably end up being a guard or a tackle. But yeah, that's our offensive line. Yay. Don't get hurt, stay healthy. But I feel really good about the offense outside of the pass block. And as you can see, I'm very down on the pass blocking, but I feel really good about the offense, what it provides. I think we're going to be a juggernaut once again. Love the OBJ pickup. Let's go ahead. Let's talk defense. And when it comes to this defense, I'm feeling hella positive. I got us with an A overall. I think the run defense is going to be pretty darn good. Again, if we're going to go with that like bend don't break, I think it's going to be solid. The pass rush, I'm a little down on just because of the injuries. I guess that's where we should start with the defensive line. When it comes to the edge position, we got Bradley Chubb coming off an ACL injury. We got Jalen Phillips coming off an Achilles injury. I imagine Phillips will be able to start the season. Bradley Chubb not going to start the season. He could end up on like that on IR and miss like the first 4 weeks of the year, which that means, you know, Chop Robinson's gonna be the starter there, and because there's really no one else, no other options. And dude, if Phillips or Chubb can't start, then it's like, holy crap. Are we going to be having to start like 2 rookies and like Kamara and Robinson there at edge? And you know what? Like with Bradley Chubb, it was such a shame. The dude we traded for him, then we paid him a lot, and I was like, golly, was he worth all that money? Like, he hasn't really truly broken out into like, could be a top 10, top 15 pass rusher in the league. But he did last season, 70 pressures, 13 sacks. Sucks that he had the ACL injury at the end of the year. Jalen Phillips has been also really good. And I mean, he had 27 pressures, 7 sacks last year prior to the injury. Keep in mind, he played the first 8 games. So that was through 8 games. He had those statistics. So like when healthy, this edge group should be really good. But I'm a little bit more down on it just because of the health of our edge room currently. When it comes to the defensive line, I forgot to mention Calais Campbell because he was a late addition. We added him probably a couple of weeks ago, maybe like a month ago. Forgot to mention it during the additions, but the dude's still playing football at a very high level. I mean, I do imagine we're gonna have quite the rotation on the interior, but like Campbell's just coming off a year where he played 700 snaps. So maybe not, man. Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't come off the field. But I feel like people forget how good Wilkins was good, but like don't sleep on like Sealer was hella good. 60 pressures, 90 I almost said 90 sacks. 9 sacks. Hella good, dude. Hella good. Hella solid. So I feel really good about the defensive line, and I mean we could just go ahead and jump to the depth. As on the interior, you will have like Jair Tart, Benito Jones. They're going to be those space eaters, those guys that can really cause a pileup in the middle. Tart kind of had a falling out at the end of his run with the Tennessee Titans. And I can't remember how many snaps did he play for the Texans. Because I know, I'm forgetting his name. Derek Barrett kind of had a reemergence with the Texans last year. Tart didn't play a ton with the Texans, so there ain't much to talk about. But like, keep in mind, like Jair Tart is a year removed from being really good with the Titans. He had 26 pressures and 2 sacks back in 2002. So don't sleep on that. We got Neville Gallimore. Really has just been a rotation player in his career. That's probably the ceiling with him. I say the same thing about guys like Hand, Harris, but also along the defensive line, they got a couple of guys who were UDFAs, like Isaiah Mack, Brandon, was it Pilley, former, was it USC he came out of? But I mean these, yeah, USC. I mean, these are long shots to make the roster. Leonard Payne didn't watch Leonard Payne during the draft process. Didn't make my list, and I went over 600 prospects last year, so couldn't tell you much about them. But yeah, I'm excited about guys like Kamara and Robinson. I just hope that they don't get thrown into the fire too soon. Like, Robinson's gonna kind of have to. They also have Cameron Good, who was kind of this tweener out of Cal a couple of years ago. He's more of a special team player. Grayson Murphy's in here as a UDFA coming out of UCLA. Probably a practice squad player just because the size sucks. Well, not the size. He's like, what, 6'2", 250, 252. Maybe, I think at some point he was at 260, but like his arm length, him and his brother, like 31-inch arms. Like, good luck, Godspeed. They're guys that probably should be off-ball linebackers. Or like hybrid, like blitzing options. Couldn't tell you much about like guys like Quinn Bell, Ezekiel Vandenberg. These are guys that are probably not going to make the roster, but they might, just depending on how far along Chubb and Phillips are. And then at linebacker, we gave Brooks the bag, so I imagine Brooks is going to be the starter. And next to David Long, who's hella good. One of my, like, low-key, like one of my more favorite linebackers in the NFL. I feel like people sleep on him. He's a might not be like the best in coverage, but like what he does as a blitzer and a run stuffer, it's pretty darn good. Anthony Walker, though, don't sleep on Walker. Like, I know he's been hurt for the better part of the last 2 seasons. Let's go ahead and look at how many snaps he's played the last couple of years over there at Cleveland. Yeah, played 450 snaps last year, played 120 in 2022. In 2021, did play 700. Like, he is really good, really solid. A much better, like, a really solid coverage player. Like, if anything, might be our best coverage linebacker. It's just, can he stay healthy? So, someone you're probably going to see more so on sub packages. Let's talk about the depth past those guys. As Duke Riley, more of a special teamer, more of a journeyman. Cam Brown was someone coming out of Penn State that was more of a developmental player. Probably, he's a good special teamer, though. Channing Tindall's literally done nothing with the Dolphins. Nothing of note. Like, how many snaps did he even have last year? Let's look it up. As Channing Tindall had a whopping 12 snaps last season. Golly. Then he had 10 snaps the year before, former 3rd-round pick. I liked him coming out of Georgia, but just hasn't done much. Hasn't had his number called. And I mean, we must not be that confident in him if we went out and got 2 linebackers in free agency. And then I feel great about this secondary. I really do. I may have came down on the Jordan Poyer pick, but that's not a reflection on what he is, or at least still is as a player. It was more so, why not play the younger guy? Because honestly, in terms of production, they're in the same ballpark. I don't know why we just didn't decide to pay the younger guy an extra mil, but it is what it is. Jordan Poyer is still a solid player, and he's going to be back there with Javon Holland. You're going to have Fuller, Ramsey there as our top corners. Ramsey, fun fact, still hella good despite missing a good part of last year. Did come back early from Nuss injury, but played really, really good football for us, as he ended up having 3 interceptions. I think he had 2 in one game as well. and 2 pass breakups, allowed a completion rate of 54.8%. I do think Fuller is a upgrade over Xavier Howard. Howard just hasn't been good for us the last couple of years, and just the fact of the matter. Kader Coho was significantly better in the slot than he was playing out wide, and he kind of had to play out wide for a grip of last season because of Jalen Ramsey and him coming back from the injury. Like, you look at his snaps, snaps out there, out wide, playing outside corner, were largely at the beginning parts of the year. Week 1, week 2, he was mainly playing the slot where he played really good. And then they kick him outside. He ends up giving up 2 touchdowns to the Bills in week 4. Kicked him back into the slot, but then he play outside in week 7. Like, the dude was solid, man. Like, being in the slot, you are going to give up a chunk of change here and there. But, like, yeah, man, you look at, like, since the bye, he only gave up over 37 yards once. The completion rate, it's a little inflated just because it's in the slot, but I'm excited to see him now fully entrenched. Like, okay, you not worry, you're going to be our slot player the whole year. If anything, it kind of felt like him having to go and play on the outside early last year was more of an indictment on what we feel like Cam Smith's development has been. Unfortunately, just kind of feels like the case. Cam Smith ended up playing all of 22 snaps last season. And I mean, we go out and we get Kendall Fuller. Like, I don't know when we're going to see Cam Smith, but I don't even know if he's the next guy in if injury happens, because like this team really likes Nick Needham, a guy that has inside and outside versatility, probably at his best when he's asked to go and blitz the quarterback. But Needham's been a fine depth player for the Dolphins for a long time. So I say a long time, probably like since 2020, 2019. But yeah, it's like Cam Smith. Now you're looking at being like, what, corner 5 on this roster? That's not a great feeling. But yeah, Javon Holland, one of the best safeties in the league. Not quite to the level of, like, I think Jesse Bates or Antoine Winfield Jr., but he's right up there in that top 3, top 5. I mean, this was the guy that had the Hail Mary, the pick 6 on a Hail Mary. Absolutely ludicrous. He was hella good last year for the Dolphins. He's been hella good over his whole, like, his last 2 years of his career. Like, just a really good player, sure tackler. And dude just makes plays. He makes plays. He breaks up plays. Like, he's good. He's good for us. Let's look at the depth when it comes to the secondary. As I kind of mentioned, it looks like I think Nick Needham will probably be the next guy up. Keep in mind, he also coming off an ACL injury, why he missed a lot of time last year. But Cam Smith, I have a hard time buying that the Dolphins believe in him, just because them going out and getting Kendall Fuller, which I'm not against. They got Storm Duck there, also as a potential backup, probably long shot to make the squad. He's got some traits. Formerly highly sought out recruit out of was initially at North Carolina, ends up going to Louisville. He was supposed to go to Penn State, then he decommitted and went to Louisville, but probably makes the practice squad. But hey, look out, man. Could be something there somewhere down the line, but as of right now, nothing. Just nothing. When it comes to our safety depth, Sarah Neal's someone who could play in the slot. He could play also at safety. You're going to keep him on as a special teamer, though. That's where he makes his bread and butter. Marcus Mays here on the squad after being let go by the Saints. Just I think at this point, yeah, he's good depth for the Dolphins. Nothing moving forward though. Elijah Campbell's more of a special teamer. I really like Mark Perry coming out of TCU. If we would have drafted him in the 6th round over Patrick McMorris, I probably would have liked that better. I had Perry higher on my board. So like both Perry and McMorris are long shots to make the roster. If they do stick to the roster, it's because what they can do in special teams, which means you're going to have to usurp Campbell, who's been an all right special teamer. But hey, man, watch out for Perry on the practice squad. Again, liked him better than Patrick McMorris. Couldn't tell you anything really about Jordan Colbert or Jason, Mattery. Those are just guys that I'm unfamiliar with. We're unfamiliar with during the draft process. Isaiah Johnson, though, coming out of Syracuse. He was formerly a transfer from Dartmouth, I think. But he's a bigger corner. Like, let's get actual size profile. So much so, I thought he might make the transition to safety. Yeah, coming in at 6'3", 205 pounds. I thought he might transition to safety in the NFL, which he might very well do, but I hope he makes the practice squad. I think that's someone you might want to try to develop. So be on the look for that. But I feel good about this defense. As long as they can both get healthy and stay healthy, I feel extremely good about this Dolphins defense. But let's get to what you came here for. Let's talk how they'll do in 2024. When it comes to the strength of schedule, I have the Dolphins with the 15th easiest schedule in the NFL. So right there, slap dab in the middle of the pack. Let's go ahead and project the possible ceiling for this squad. If everything just goes right, the offensive line performs well, they're able to protect Tua, that the defense can get healthy and stay healthy. So let's do that, as they'll open the year with back-to-back home games. This is great. We get the Bills back in Miami early in the season. I hope it's 100 degrees. I hope they melt. I'm going to give us back-to-back wins here. We then do have to travel to Seattle, where Anthony Weaver will have to take on Mike McDonald, his former DC. And I'll give us the win here too, because this is a team that I feel like is in a bit of a minor rebuild, more so than people are willing to believe, though it's a team with a lot of talent, and you shouldn't underestimate the Seahawks by any means, but we are coming off a mini little bye. I think the Dolphins get a little revenge here. I know I got some Titans fans on the channel. I love you guys, but screw you. That ticked me off last year because I did a watch along for that game, and it hurt. Patriots. We swept the Patriots last season. I think we could do much of the same entering our bye. Coming out of our bye, we do get the Colts, but we will be fresh. So look at that. We're on a 6-game winning streak. Then we got the Cardinals. I'm going to go ahead and say the Bills win this. I think we might split with the Bills. And I think if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, there's a good chance we might split with the Jets as well. Rams, I think, are going to be a tough team, at least tougher than people anticipate. So let's actually, I think the Rams, well, let's just leave it as is. I honestly think this Rams game and this Colts game, those can go either way. I know Raiders are coming off their bye, but we get them at home. We're sweeping the Patriots. Packers and Lambeau is going to be a little bit tough. We're getting later in the year. Things are starting to get a little cooler, but not quite as cool yet. Oh, and it's a night game. Oh yeah, we're toast. We were terrible in prime time. I'm going to give us the home win over the Jets. Texans coming off a bye. It's in Houston. Not going to give us that one. Niners are going to be tough to beat down the stretch here. They really, really are, but I'll give us the win against the Browns. And let's say injury does happen to the Jets and we're able to sweep them. That ends up giving us a ceiling of 12 wins. And I think that's plausible. I think that's within the realm of possibility. Keep in mind, we almost hit 12 wins last year. Just unfortunately, We didn't have a good, strong second half against the Bills. And that game was at home for us, unfortunately. So, ceiling of 12 wins. I like it. I love it. That's going to be able to, that you're going to be able to compete for that first overall seed with that type of ceiling. But when it comes to my projection and how I think the Dolphins are, keep in mind, I'm a Dolphins fan. Fins up, baby. Fins up. I have us going 10-7. You'll be like, what? We're going to have one less win than we did last year? Well, we lost some significant talent, guys. Like in the form of Christian Wilkins, Robert Hunt. Like, those are two tough players you're going to have to replace on top of the offensive line. What if they deal with injury concerns again? We're already going into the season with 2 unhealthy edge players. So I think 10-7 is a fair. As a Dolphins fan, I think it's fair. Because as a Dolphins fan, I have hardened my heart. They can't hurt me anymore. When they do well, I'm pleasantly surprised. When they do terribly, it's like, man, yeah, the Dolphins, you can't trust them. Can't trust them. But let's look, because let's look at some, like, I guess I'd be taking away 2 games here. So I think I would definitely take this last, this Jets game in week 18. I'd take that one away. And I'd probably take this Colts game away. I think these games are within the realm of reason, and that would put us at 10 wins. So, like, losing out of our bye after starting hot. Keep in mind, not last year, but the year before, we had like a 6-7 game win streak early in the year. But like, yeah, I mean, I think this is plausible, and like, I didn't see how many of these games were prime time. Which, yeah, this Browns one, prime time. Trouble. We weren't good in prime time. We were like 1-4, 1-5, or something like that. I think we were 1-5 because after that Titans loss, we were 1-3, and then both the playoff game against the Chiefs and the Bills game at the end of the year were night games as well. So 1-5 on prime time. So gotta get better than that. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. I've already done videos on both the Jets and the Patriots. So if you're a Dolphins fan and you want to check out how you think the division rivals will do, check out those videos. Or you could check out my gaming videos. That's right. I'm doing college football 25. I'm doing a rebuild with the Old Dominion Monarchs, and I just released my newest episode yesterday, so check that out. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Fins up.